Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how to start a therapy session as a therapist. I'm very excited to make this video because I think it will be super practical and give you some ideas, especially if you are a new therapist or maybe you are getting ready to go into your practicum or internship and you're wondering, what should my opening of my session even look like? I think especially when you're new, nerves can run really high at the beginning of sessions. I remember literally being so nervous and sweaty and shaky going into my sessions, and honestly, clients can pick up on that. So hopefully this will give you some added confidence on how to start a session. I'm going to walk you through exactly what I do as an LPC and a therapist who does virtual therapy, as well as in the past, I have worked in a group practice office. So if that sounds of interest to you, please keep on watching. Hi, my name is Alyssa Powers, and I created this YouTube channel to teach you the things that grad school didn't so you can thrive as a mental health therapist. Getting right into how to start your session. The first thing you're gonna wanna do is look back at your last note with your client. Now, currently in my own practice, I typically don't have to do this because I'm only seeing about 12 clients a week, and they're people I've seen for a really long time, so I can just remember what we've been talking about. But when I used to have a caseload of more like 25 to 35 people, I definitely needed to look at my note, and notes are wonderful, especially on EHR systems like Simple Practice, because you can write your clinical note and you can also write an administrative note, where sometimes I'll write something very casual in the admin note that says like, talk about self-care ideas next session. Something like that, that sparks like, oh, we didn't get to this. Here's what we were gonna talk about. So I can remember to check in about those things. So looking at your note before your session even starts is going to be a huge help. The next thing you're gonna wanna do is probably a no-brainer, but starting your sessions on time is so important just because it's one, professional, two, it's ethical, and three, especially if your client is paying you out of pocket for that 50 minutes, every minute counts. If you're consistently 5 minutes late every single time, that adds up to like hours of less therapy that they're going to get. So trying to be as on time as possible. Of course, things happen. I've had times where I have been a couple of minutes late. Usually if I'm late, it's like 1 or 2 minutes. It's not close to 5 minutes. And I know some people really struggle with this and will make it up on the other end. Like they'll go past the 50 minutes and end at the 55, which I guess is fine. My preference is to just be on time. I joke with my friends and family that it is the therapist in me that, like, if I make plans with a friend and I say, okay, we're gonna meet at 4 o'clock, like I will be there at 4 o'clock on the dot. If I'm not there at 4 o'clock, I'm like stressed out because I think it's like the clinical hour in my mind is like, you gotta start right on the hour. So being on time is a great thing to do. The next thing that you're going to want to keep consistent is just having a routine. So after watching this video, hopefully you'll have lots of ideas of like what kind of routine you want to set up for yourself and your clients when you're opening a session. But I do the same thing pretty much every single time with every client. It becomes a routine. They know what I'm going to do, and that gives them a sense of safety and a sense of consistency. So I would say keep it the same every single time. If it calls for something different, then of course, use your clinical judgment. As a therapist who does completely telehealth therapy right now, I will say that there is usually a little bit of an adjustment when I'm first logging on to a call with someone with like, okay, are my AirPods connected? Are their AirPods connected? Can we hear each other? Can we see each other? Is our Wi-Fi connection okay? Just know that that happens. That's normal. Obviously, can be annoying and a little bit distracting, but I think most people are totally okay with it and understand that we just can't always control technology. So know that that might be a part of beginning a virtual session. And then if you are in person working in an office where you have to like walk through a waiting room. I know when I worked at my group practice, we had like a waiting area where we would go and get our clients, and then we had to walk through a hallway past all of the offices to get to our main room that was just ours. And I would say having some sort of small talk conversation is wonderful. I would never ask my clients as soon as I see them, how are you? How was your week? Because you just want to make sure you can get into the confidential space of your actual office before you're getting into it. So I know when I worked at my group practice, the parking was always really terrible. So usually I'd be like, were you able to find a spot? Did you have to park far today? Or we had therapy dogs in our office, so I would make little comments about them, or I would offer them tea or coffee, or ask about the weather. Like, I know none of that is groundbreaking, but you want to keep the hard-hitting stuff to a confidential space where they feel safe and where they're not going to be overheard by anybody. So just know some small talk may be necessary. And then one caveat, I guess, to all of this is that if you are working with a client who has active suicidal or homicidal ideation, I would definitely consider getting right to that. Of course, you can ask, how are you doing? But I would for sure bring that up at the beginning of the session in case you need to safety plan that session or you need to do some sort of crisis intervention. That's going to give you enough time to actually do that. If in the last 5 minutes, they do a doorknob confession of like, and I've been suicidal this week. Okay, well now ethically I have to like figure that out, right? Like I can't just be like, oh, okay, well time's up, good luck. Like that's not what happens. So for sure, if you are working with a client that has had some ideation, absolutely check in about that at the beginning, review the safety plan, ask what's been working and what hasn't been working, and get them all set up with that, and then get into other things. But that's, that can be a rookie mistake. I know when I was first starting out, it's harder to have the confidence, I guess, to ask those questions. Like it can be really kind of a jolt to be like, have you wanted to kill yourself this week? But they say that there's no research that shows that asking clients about their ideation makes them want to commit or complete suicide. So it's all good. It's good. It's the right context to ask about it. And you need to start with that if you have a client who is high needs, in crisis, or at risk. And then to get into just the meat and potatoes of the session, I like to say something like, how have things been since we last talked? They will give me an update, and maybe they have their own idea of what they want to talk about that day. But if after their update, it seems like, okay, we're ready to get into more stuff, then I will bring up what their therapy goals are, or maybe something we talked about last time but didn't get to. I have a lot of clients that will send me a little list via email of what they hope to talk about that day. And I absolutely love when they do that because it helps me know like, okay, this is what would make a good session for them. We're not gonna get derailed. I know that they wanna talk about X, Y, and Z, and we're gonna hit those things and hopefully have enough time. And if we don't, then I'm gonna make a little note for next time to jump back into those topics. But I am a very casual / client-led kind of therapist. So I'm not super like solutions focused. We have to just get down to like, how are we gonna fix this? To me, that is not the nature of therapy, and that's not just the kind of therapy I enjoy doing. I do think there's a time and a place. If you're solutions focused, don't come for me. But I like to be casual and just say, okay, what's come up for you? And then if they are starting to, wind down with their update, then I can present them with like, here's some therapeutic things that we could talk about. Sometimes they need a vent session. Sometimes they have a big life update that they need to talk through. Sometimes they don't need prompted at all. And I have other clients that honestly need a ton of prompting. And I think it really comes down to building rapport, how long you've been working with someone, and honestly, how open and just naturally talkative they are. I have clients that I can barely get a word in with them because they would just go and go and go. And then I have clients that like I have to present them with a lot of, you know, ideas of what we could talk about and what would be important. And I'm always checking in to make sure that like it's still led by them. Even if it's a client that is really shy or really uncertain of where to go, like I still want to make sure it's coming from them and that I'm not pushing my own agenda of things I think they should be working through. So there are great guiding questions that you can ask of like, what hasn't felt good for you that day? What has felt good for you that day? What would be most helpful? What would help you to have, you know, a better week this week? What kind of coping skills do you want to work through? Coping is always really great to talk about with new clients. So I hear my son out there. Hopefully this helps you. If you are a new therapist, if you just need a refresher or you need some ideas, I think this can be one of the most intimidating things to do as a new therapist. So I hope that this helps. If it did, please give this video a like and subscribe for future content. I hear my crying little baby, so I will see you next time. Bye.